So today's Chulin Daf Mem Gimel, but we're really going to start Mem Beis Mem Beis Amid Aleph on the bottom. The Torah there Bishmol. And what's the shmooze over here? The Gemara is going to want to know. We're starting Mem Beis on the Mem Beis Amid Aleph on the bottom. The Torah there Bishmol, right? That what? Bein hachaya hanecheles bein hachaya shelo yisaychel elu shmoina esrei treifos shenemu l'mosh misinai. That's the 18 treifos. Now, what the Gemara doesn't say, but it's going to be mavur in the Gemara soon, that our Mishnah also has 18. So, right? And we're going to base on, that's what today's sugya is going to be, that we're going to go and say that here, the Torah of Rabbi Shmuel says that there's 18. So what are the 18? And the question is, if it's 18 is 18 and 18 is the limit, so the question is, what do you mean? We know that besides the 18 that it says in our Mishnah, there's also another two lists. There's Baseger and Shev Shmaitza. Baseger is Roshei Tevis of 4 different halachas that are Mishnayos or Braisos. That's Baseger. And then there's the Shev Shmaitza, which are members of Amoraim, which they have the Kabbalah, which are also treifus. And the question is are we limited to the list of the 18 of our Mishnah, or do we have more cases, meaning the Baseger and Shev Shmaitza? So I think what's Kedai is to go through first, because the Gemara is going to go through a cheshbon. We're going to see how to deal with the list of our Mishnah, and then we're going to take off and add in this answer. So let's quickly go through what the 18 of our Mishnah was, and then once we go through the 18 of our Mishnah, then we'll be able to work with the Baseger and Shev Shmaitza real quickly. So I found a list. One second, let me find it. So here we have the Mishnah, right? So the Mishnah has this is our Mishnah, and they counted it very nicely, 18, except one of them I'm not masking to. But anyway, Nekuvas Aveshta and Psukas HaGegeres is 2, right? Nekuvas Aveshta is 1, Psukas HaGegeres is another one. Nikav Kum Shel Moyach is 3. Nikav Halev Lebeis Chaloli is 4, right? Nishbra Hasheder V'Nifsach Achut Shaloi is 5. Nital HaKaved V'Lenishtayim and Klom, so far 6. Those are simple, right? So we had really 3 sets of 2, yeah? Then we have over here, this I think they're making a mistake. Hareya shenikva oisha chasra. That's 2. Nikva is a whole, and chasra is a different one. So that's 2 of them. A whole or a chasra. Hareya shechasra oisha nikva. At least at this point in the Gemara, that's 2. They're making a mistake here. Then you have nikva hakeva, nikva amora, nikva dakim. So now we are up to 11, right? They have it at 10. I think they're making a mistake. I think it's 11. Okay, yeah. You could see the number here. Yeah, I think they're making a little bit of a mistake over here. But again, they're one off. I think Areya Shenikva V'Chasra is 2. Okay, fine. Now we have Nikra V'Achitzoyna. That's a rip. Hemsis at this point in the Gemara is saying Hemsis Ubeis HaKoisis. Hemsis Ubeis HaKoisis are those two, the secondary stomach and the second and the third stomach, shenikvu l'chutz, if they got a whole l'chutz. So we're going to see the Gemara that's going to be one of our eitzes, is that we're gonna turn this into 1. Okay, fine. But as of now, these are 2. So he has it at 13. I think I think this is really 14 and 15. And then you have Nafla, Nishtabra, and Drusas Hazev. For some reason, they split up these 2 drusos. I don't think Drusas Hazev and Drusas Hanetz is 2 separate ones. It's one thing, is Drusa, right? So what we're arguing on is that they put the 2 Drusas separately. We're just saying that the Reish and Nikva Shechasra is 2. Nikva and Chasra is 2. And that we're going to see why we're splitting up into 2. Because again, this is going to be the Vart. The Treifa is about the incident that happened. It's not about what happened to the animal's current state. But anyway, so that is the 18, right? So what we have is first 2, 2, 2. Then we have the 2 reyes and the 3 nikvas. That's 11. Then we have the 2 kerems, the 2 hakeres apnimi. Oh, here's a raya, by the way. Here's a raya that you have to split the 2 reyes, because by reya shenikva shechasra you split it. He wants to do 1, but by the keres apnimi shenikva or shenikra over there you split it. What's the difference, right? It could be the maskana, maybe you'll be able to say Eshtegol Torah, but Akapanim, at least at this point, it's definitely considered two. Yeah, fine. So and Hemses, so Beisakoisis, and Nafla, Nishtabra, and Drusa. Okay, that's the cheshbon. Okay, so that's it. Now, Frekti Gemara, Baseger, V'shev Shmaitza. So here's very gishmak. We have Baseger. These are these four, right? These four, Baseger, right? And Shev Shmaitza are these seven Shmaitzas, are these seven things. That's the most kasha. That what happened to Baseger, V'shev Shmaitza? What happened to those things? I think while we were looking at this, maybe before we run into the Gemara inside, maybe. So here we have from the what's called it from Sichas Chulin. So this is the 18 treifis, which we know. We went through what they are, but here's all the pictures of what they are. But then he has a picture also of what. Okay, this is the about the halal, the nikva alevish base halal. But what I wanted to show was this. Here are the Shev Shmaitza. Yeah? These are the Shev Shmaitza. It's kedai to know. Okay? We're going to go through it now. We're going to see it later. We might as well see it now. Okay? First of all, this is Buka the Atma de Shaf Miduchte, which means that it came out of its socket in the back foot. And here we have Loksa Bekulyo. Here is where the animal has its two kidneys. Our kidneys are more like round. A cow's kidney looks like this. It's looks like grapes. Anyway, Bekitza Loksa Bekulya Achas, or if one of them is sick, very important. It's not a hole. It's not ripped. It's Loksa. It's sick. And one of these things, that's one of the Shev Shmaitza. And then we have over here this thing. If one of the vertebrae was completely removed, then it's a treifa. Yeah, all the other halachas we had, the mashal you needed in Ishtabru was roiv. But here, if it's completely removed, there's another one. And Gugel Shenech Besa Beruba, meaning the whole brain was hit, was banged a whole bunch of times, that would be another one. And then we have over here, okay, this is one of the besegas actually. Behem Shenechtechu Raglel Min Akuvo Lamaila. So it's over here. If it was Min Akuva is the knee. This is this what's called it. And if it's and if it got a break, if it got chopped from Min Akuvo Lamaila. Okay, yeah, that's that. And then we have Basa Chayfer, it's Roiv Hakeres. Rashi, this is really going to be a sugya later on, but bottom line is, this is that big stomach, and this is the big first stomach that everything sits there, and the Basa Chayfer, the Roiv Hakeres, if that's ripped, that's also going to be one of them. And then we have this is the Tchol. The tchol is the spleen, and the tchol we're going to see halacha legabi. If it's removed, it's fine, but if it gets a hole, it's worse. Charusa is if the lung shrivels up. We spoke about it, and simonim shenidaldalu beruban. Simonim shenidaldalu beruban. We're going to see is machlekes Rashi and Tosfos. If the pshat is it got somewhat dislodged over here, or Tosfos is going to learn if it got dislodged between. Meaning that they're normally together, the veshet and the kana are always held together, and the Rach says that Nedad Beruba means that they got separated. Okay, that's let's go back. Okay, that's the thing. But we're going to go back to our list. That's what's more negay is our list. Frekti Gemara Kasha v'suleka v'ika b'sega v'shev shmaitza. That's our Kasha. What happened to b'sega v'shev shmaitza? So we started off our Mishnah Taka with 18, but what's going to be with the b'sega v'shev shmaitza? Zakti Gemara bishlama l'tana didan loitatana v'au Mishnah. Big deal. Even though he only listed 18, we cheshbon through the 18, but the Tana. The ones that he said before in our Mishnah, he said udishir, and whatever he didn't leave over, the mashal the basega v'shev shmaitz, which are not listed in our Mishnah, ask you b'zaklal, a big deal. The time of our Mishnah could hold that there's more than 18 treifas. El the time of the Rabbi Shmuel Dama Yudches treifas v'suleka v'ika. There's these the basega v'shev shmaitz. That's the kasha. So now v'ika, this is the first one is behem mishenechtechu raglel min akuva l'mayla. Yeah, a behema that its foot got broken min hakuva l'mayla, from that knee ulamayla. Rashi explains agavorcha. We're going to see that that's the place. It's kedai to know the Metzias. That's the place that they still do it at Bismanenu as well. By that joint is what they do is when they want to do hefshit, they have to hang up the animal from its legs to be able to do hefshit. So how do they hang up the animal? They need a place that you could best place to hook up the animal. Where do you hook up the animal? By that joint, because by that joint there's a very strong place where the bone and the muscle hold together, and that's where even the guy do that. You hang up over there by that thing. So you cut off the feet before, and you hang up the animal over there in a harkuva. That's that's lashon of harkuva. Okay, fine. Anyway, higher than that streifa. So the kasha is, what happened to this brisa that says it's going to be a treifa. Now there is another brisa. Reb Shimon Elazar says like this. Rashi says like this: Reb Shimon ben Elazar machshir mipnei sheyichayla lichvos v'lichyos. So Reb Shimon Elazar is machshir mipnei sheyichayla lichvos v'lichyos. Right? So, but the Gemara is going to ask. The Gemara is going to first answer for Reb Shimon Elazar without the kshera for some reason. Rashi doesn't say why, but that's what the Gemara says. That the Gemara is going to do this teretz in two shlavim. The question is, Va'ika behemish nechtechu raglam and akuva l'mayla Tanakama holds that it's a treifa. So the Gemara, Savalak Reb Shimon Elazar, the Amay yichayli lichvos v'lichyos, that he holds that it could become better. Now, what? So what if it could become better? It could come better and what? It could come better and what? Yeah. So the Gemara at this point did not yet know that it's going to be, that Reb Shimon Elazar holds it's not a treifa. No, Yichayil lichos v'lichos is just a fact. For the Gemara, so what? Avagav Yichayil lichos v'lichos leman kama l'tana d'rei Reb Shmuel tana d'rei Reb Shmuel treifa chayis v'yalei. So he holds that even if it could live, it doesn't matter. It's still treifa chaya. I mean, it still could be a treifa. So therefore, this thing could be a treifa even though it's chaya. And for the Gemara, that now the Gemara introduced the other part of the brisa. Reb Shimon Elazar said that it's ksheirihi and matam because it's but the first version of the way what we brought back from Reb Shimon Elazar, we didn't know that it was ksheira. We just knew that it's it would seem, at least from the simple reading of this Rashi, that the Gemara holds that is at this junction, the Gemara held that it's a machlokes Reb Shimon Elazar and Tanakama if you could make it better, but until you make it better, it's not good. Until you make it better, it's not a treifa. But upon him, what's the halacha? You have to make it better. And then the Gemara introduced Reb Shimon Elazar holds not a treifa as well at all. But at least in the Gemara's Havamina, the Gemara holds and you have to make it better. So it would seem like at least at this shlav in the Gemara seems to hold that what? That a treifa is chayzeres l'kashrusa, and that is going to be the first salvo in the big sugya of treifa chayzeres l'kashrusa, which is the big shaila that's negeh b'smanenu. We'll see in a second. But I'm just showing you at this point in the Gemara, it could be it's negeh, just in the pshat of the Gemara. Zok the Gemara weiter. Okay, so that was the base of Baseger. Baseger is four things. The first one was Behemish Nachtachu Ragleo, and we were matcha that it's Reb Shimon Elazar finished. Doesn't matter. Tana d'rei Reb Shmuel, they don't hold from it. Okay, so one of the four we don't hold like. We're going to see. We're not going to hold like two, and the other two we're going to make room for. Yeah, but two of them we don't hold for. At least at this shlav of the Gemara. So one of them is Reb Shimon Elazar. We don't hold like Reb Shimon Elazar holds kshera. So Mela, it's not a problem. What's in the Geir Chesaron B'Shedra? It's negea benegea halacha of tumas ohalos. That what the halacha is that be'etzem a mace is mitam b'mag. It's also mitam b'ohalos, right? But the halacha is when negea for ohalos, you need a more of a darga of tuma. Right, so you need l'mashal, you need a shedra or a gilgalis. If you don't have a shedra or gilgalis, it's not going to be what? It's not going to be mitam ba'olos. It'll be mitam b'maga b'vasa, but it's not going to be mitam ba'olos. Right? That's what's in the gear. This machlokes Beisham Beisol. Beisham says that until it's missing two cholyos, it's still considered a shedra. And Beisol says no, even one of them makes it be missing. It's enough that it's ois shedra, yeah, and that's not going to be mitam ba'olos. Ve'am Rabbi Yudah Mashmuel v'chein l'treifa, that the same machlokes Beisham Beisol is sai b'negeya or sai b'negeya the kula of the Gabi Thomas Oilers, where Beisol says as soon as you're missing one chol, no problem of Thomas Oilers. But now is a gavaldig chumrah of where by treifas that by Shammai holds that it's not a treifa until it's missing two cholyos. But Beisol says one choly is already out. One choly is already a treifa. So here's a chumrah. This is a Gemara. The Gemara talks about this case Gufa, that this is a case where amol it's sometimes the chumrah, sometimes the kula, right? Like over here, this is a case where sometimes the kula, sometimes the chumrah, because it's the same question. The question is if the animal, if the being loses his life, if he becomes a treifa by losing only one cholya, Beisol says yes. So therefore, it's negea that it's negea a chumrah that you can't eat it. It becomes a treifa. The animal becomes a treifa. You can't eat it. But the reverse is that when it comes to Thomas Arles, Beisol says that it's going to lose its power of Toma right away, much quicker, as soon as it's missing one cholya. Okay, yeah, that's this Gemara. So the shayla is what happened to this. So, and this one, we're not going to say, no, there's nobody was chelik. There's definitely a thing of chesar and b'shedra. So we don't have this eitzah, so we're going to have to accommodate for this Gemara. So, and for the Gemara, let's just answer the Gemara. Then we have to just go back to Red Ois, a very important Rebbeinu Tam. So, and for the Gemara, Hemsis ubeis hakoisis techashavtu luhu betarti chashvenu bechada. We're going to make room for this. Again, we started off with 18 in our Mishnah, and we have a problem with Baseger. Baseger, what happened to Baseger? Rabbi Shmuel says that there's only 18. So the first one we said we don't need Baseger. We don't hold from Rabbi Shimon Elazar. But what's going to be with Chisaron? The Teretz says we're going to make room for it. How are we going to make room for it? We counted Hemsis and Beis HaKoisis as two separate things. That either one, if they got a hole, they become a treifa. So we're going to say Hemsis and Beis HaKoisis the lehu betarti. No, cheshvenu betarti betray. Somehow we could merge them into one. Rashi says. They're next to each other and they're like one, and it could be you could still consider them one. Is it a lamdish or machlokes, or is it just I'm not sure exactly, but Akobanim, that's where the Gemara is going. That Hemsa Beis HaKoisis, and the Gemara is going to blind by this part. The Gemara is going to blind. The Hemsa Beis HaKoisis is Chashvenu B'chad. Okay, yeah. Now I just want to read us one nekuda that Tosfos talks about. There is another shmuz here. There's a very, very important shmuz which is going to be negaya also today's blot by Eoiv, and that shmuz is what's the halacha? The shaila is what's the story legabi a treifa of a human? That's the shaila, right? And the shaila is right. The machlokes Rebbeinu Tam and Rashi. That Rebbeinu Tam holds.
What can you get by human?
Where's it going to be? We're going to see it's going to be the get. Well, the get la'alocha. It's the get la'alocha. Treifa is very, very stark in the get because we paskin the treifa and a chaya. So it's the get treifa and a chaya. It's the get if somebody we know that he was a treifa and he got lost and he's missing for 12 months. If his wife could live. I mean, if his wife could get married, that would be one eighth. What?
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be one thing. Another negay. It's negay if fakir. It's negay if somebody killed somebody, and the question is if he's narrow. I mean, it's negay a lot of things, right? So we're gonna see in a second. So Rabbeinu Tam says that you can't bring a raya from that an adam, whatever's a treifa by a behema is not going to be a treifa by a adam. Why? Because by adam is islay mazla, and since he's islay mazla, so the mele what? Still live. Oh, so what's the tolian? And what Rashi holds is not. One second. So memela. So what's the cheshbon? I mean, it's a ganz arichas. We can't. It was just an negeh for the next gemara. But the bottom was like this. The other gemara in the same Mishnah of Beisham Beis Hillel Legabi Shedra, there's another halacha Legabi Golgoylis. That if the Golgoylis gets a piece missing, so if you get a chisaron b'Golgoylis, kama chisaron b'Golgoylis again for the benegea to aholis, right? And the question is there going to be a problem of? Is there going to be a problem of when do you have a thing that it won't be Talmud Ba'alos if there's a piece of the skull is missing, right? Now, frekt Rabbeinu Tam, what do you mean? We know that it's just a krum shel me'ach is enough to make it into a treifa. When you don't need a piece of the skull to be missing, right? Just a krum shel me'ach is enough. That is what Zok Rabbeinu Tam and Echanami. Over there by Golgoyles, it's neged by a human, and a human taka a krum shel me'ach won't make it a treifa. But right, because Islay Mazla, Mashenkin, a behemoth, Leslay Mazla, he's gonna become a treifa even just by being punctured in the krum shel me'ach. And Mamela Benegel, the Golgoyles we don't bring because the Golgoyles is not a right. That's how the cheshbon goes. We'll see. See more from the Gemara later on. So the Gemara, bottom line is okay. So again, we had Baseger. We were still in yesterday's spot. We had Baseger. The first one we said we hold it up Shimon Elazar. The second one we said we made room for because Hemsis of Beis HaKoises is we're going to chashvenu b'chada. So apu chada v'ayel chada. So now we have that was the Beis and the Samach. Now we have the Gimel and the Reish for Ikka Gluda. What's going to be Gluda? Gluda, which means that somehow the animal lost its skin. And for the Gemara, Savula Karameh de Machshir. No, it's a Machlekes Tanaim, Savula Karameh de Machshir. So again, that one we're not making room for, we're excluding it, right? We don't hold it, so he holds like Rameya, that Gluda is not a treifa. For the Gemara, the last of the four basegers, Va'ikar Charusa. And what's Charusa? We said if the lungs shrivels up, and Rashi is ma'arich to explain that it depends why it shriveled. If it shriveled up bidei shamayim, then it's no problem. But if it shrivels up by humans, then it's going to become it's impossible to come back, and therefore it's going to be a treifa. That's what Rashi says. Okay, fine. That's what charusa is. So, and va'ika charusa, and there are no cholkim on charusa b'dei adam. So, what are we going to do? So, we can't say he doesn't hold of charusa. That Tanabir Shmuel doesn't hold from it. And it says we have to make room for it. Mara mankatani la Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. The Gemara later on, Mamish in today's block, it's going to say that Mara nikvu hamara is a machlokes tanoim. Mankatani la Rabbi Yosef Yehuda. Apik Mara Vayel Charusa. So again, right? So we're going to make room for it because we're going to take out Mara. So bottom line is we had a kasha. The Tanakh Rabbi Shmuel seemed to cap the treifas on 18, and our Mishnah Taka listed the 18. But there's another two lists. There's the list of Basega v'Shev Shmaitza, right? So the question is, so what are we going to do to the Tanakh Rabbi Shmuel that are capping it at 18? What are we going to do with Basega v'Shev Shmaitza? So we just dealt with Basega, and what we did with Basega was pretty much. Basega was 4 members, and what we did was 2 of them. We said it's a das that there is a das yachid that doesn't hold of them. The Beis and the Gimel, there is a das yachid that doesn't hold of those 2, and therefore, and we said that the Tanakh Rishwal obviously holds like that das yachid. Yeah, the other 2, what we said was we made room for them. We took out Mara. and we took out, and Hemses of Beis HaKoises, we converted into one. So we took out, we made our Mishnah into only 16. Once our Mishnah is only 16, so we have room for another 2 treifas. That's how we dealt with the Beseger. Frek the Gemara, very nice. But what are we going to do with Shev Shmaitza? Yeah? The Gemara, okay, so now that we did that, at least at this point, we took out 2 and we made room for the other 2. What's with the Shev Shmaitza? Shev Shmaitza are 7 different memris that are Amoroyim, right? Now we're going to see. Now this is an interesting thing. The Tosfos asked the Kasha on the Gemara before also that Be'etzem, it said Beisham Beis Hillel. It said Beisham Beis Hillel v'Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel v'chein l'treifa. So that one does that go on the Besega list or does it go on the Shmaitza list? But right, it said there was a Mishnah that said Kama Chisaron b'Shedra b'Shami Shtei Cholis v'Silayim Choyachas v'Am Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel v'chein l'treifa. So Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel brought that machlokes over here to treifos. So is it considered? Do we put it in the first list because it's built on a Mishnah, or do we put it on the second list because Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel is the one that introduces us to treifos? Yeah. So Zoktaisis, we're going to see later on in the Gemara. We're going to see later on in the. We'll see. I guess when we'll see the Gemara, we'll discuss it. It's just interesting. Okay. So the Gemara, right? If you have the buka d'atma is that sack that bone, the kulis, which is the. And by us it's called a femur. I don't know what it's called by an animal. Yep. If that one gets dislocated, treifa. Laksa meaning it got sick in the kolya, in the kidney, right? Even one, koshkein too, treifa. Well, yeah, utnan. Here comes the third one. Utnan nitalat kol kshera. The Mishnah says that if the spleen was removed, it's kosher. So far that the Mishnah says it's kosher. That's only if it was taken. But if it was nikev, if it was punctured, it's treifa.
What's the tchol again?
The tchol is the spleen. The spleen is it's a
Okay.
Yeah, the tchol is this one. Yeah, it's this thing. I don't know. They have it on this picture. They have it as purple. I don't think it's really purple. I think it's more of a
Red.
It's like a pinkish. Yeah. Yeah, it's this thing. It's like a thin thing. And we're gonna see. I think in the Tulei Tchol, I think they used to take it out by David HaMelech. They would take out the Tchol, the spleen. If they would take it out then they would be able to run unbelievable, such an unbelievable some kind of a thing that about the Tchol. Let's get a better picture. So here's a better picture of the Tchol. Here, you see the Tchol. This is the tchol. See the picture, the color that they had over there on that picture is wrong.
So can I expect to be a steak?
I don't know. I don't think anyone eats it nowadays. I don't think so. It's not.
Two rib steak.
I don't know. I never heard of anyone eating tchol. But anyway, here's this. Yeah. Is actually this we're going to see later on. The Gemara is going to talk about it much later in the Masechta. We're going to talk about it. Is again the dam. There's one artery that runs through it, and how do you kasher it? That's the issue of Okay, but that's the tchol. Okay, so anyway, but what's the negel unser sugya nitla tchol? No problem. Take it away, it's fine. But if it's nikva tchol, then it's a problem. Yeah, that's what we just learned. Oh, so 1 second. So Zok Tosfos from here. A Gvaldig Araya. What happened over here? The Mishnah said Nitalat Chol Kshera, And on that, Rabbi Vir brought an Amoyer and said, "What? So Vaistois that if you start up with a Mishnah and on that Amoyim say halacha, it goes into the second list, not into the first list. It goes into the B'Shev Shmaitza list, the Amoyim list, and not into the Mishnah list. As is Mefurish from Al Gemara." Yeah, Zog Tois is, so what's the pshat in the Gemara before? We had a machlokes by the cholyos. B'Sham Beis Hillel. And on that, Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel said v'chein l'treifa. So again, over there it's also it's a member of Amora that's built on a Mishnah. Azoi Zog Tois. So Tois, So Tosis says that the Gemara over there is not really, the Gemara is not built on Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel. It's built on, Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel Gufa is built on the Mishnah over there, that Beis Hillel says by the Gulgoyos, Kadei Yinato Menachai V'Yamus. It's Mamish Klor that has something to do with life. So Memela has something to do with Treifa, and that's based on, so Memela, that's why we could consider it part of the Baseger and not part of the Shev Shmaitz. So Mashenkin over here, this is Mamish or Bavir, say, this is a member of our Moira completely without any riot from the Mishnah, so you don't say it. That's Tosis's pshat. V'ani Tama, I don't know. I would say a pashta pshat. I would say mamish a pashta pshat. The Gemara over there, Rabbi Yehuda Mashmuel just said v'chein l'treifa. Meaning that the exact same halacha that we said legabe cholyos, the same halacha that we said legabe cholyos b'Sham Beis Hillel, that halacha applies here too. So what they're doing is they're stelling to that halacha to here. So that's a halacha. That is a concept that's said in the Mishnah. Memela belongs in the Mishnah in the list of Baseger. Mashenkin over here for kert. The Mishnah says, Nitla Tchol Ksheira. Rabbi Vir Mshei the Rava says, Pum Fakert. Not the concept of our Mishnah. Loisha no Nitla Avonikiv Treifa. Right? So he's not going with the Mishnah. He's saying it's built on the Mishnah. It was said together with the Mishnah, but it's not the halacha of the Mishnah. So of course it belongs in the Shev Shmaitz and not in the Basaga. That's what I would have said. Yeah? Good. So to my right arm. Simonim shenedaldalu berubang treifa. So here it seems like it's machlokes Rashi Tosfos what the teaches. Rashi seems to be learning that simonim shenedaldalu berubang. We're going to see later on. The Gemara is going to talk about all these members. We're going to go and we're going to be marked. This is really just a hakdama to the parak. But Akabanim Rashi seems to be saying that it's talking about the simonim, the kana and the veshet that are somewhat dislodged on the top from the cheek. But it's not completely. It's not like a clean break. There's a few little cuts. And Memela, if it's a roiv, so then it's considered nidal lo berubam, and it's a treifa. Yeah, we'll see. We're going to see Be'ez Hashem. But Tosfos says a very interesting pshat. Tosfos says nidal lo berubam is talking about not if it's going to be dislodged from the cheek. If the simonim is dislodged from the cheek, it's negea that if the simonim themselves are separated, the kana and the veshet. Now, why is that important? So, because I just if you remember the lumdus, and it doesn't stem the Rashi to the Tosfos because it's machlokes Rashi and Tosfos over there. It was a machlokes Rashi and Tosfos, but if you remember earlier on in Daf Chof Beis Chof Aleph, where we discussed the thing of a roiv kana. If you remember roiv kana, and Rashi had a shtickle Torah that in Rav and Shmuel, you're not going to have roiv except in Tabas HaGedolah. And we said this. The reason is because Rashi says that that piece of flesh that's holding the U of all the rings, that's just a basar. That's not part of the kana. That doesn't have a shem kana, right? That's just basar. Everything else is called a kana, right? What's the vart, right? What's the vart? So now we could say a little bit. Now with Tosfos Hakapanim like the Rach, we could say we could give a shtickle hezbah because the pshat is because why do you need simarim shedadad lu beruban that it becomes a treifa? What's the vart? What do I need it for? Why do they have to be together? The teretz is that the Rach is saying that the pshat is the Eibush that made it in such a way that the veshet supports the kana, and right, it supports the kana, and therefore the reason why the kana at that area is taka soft and there's no kana there is because there's a veshet there that's holding it up, and that's what's holding it together. But if you're going to separate them, then you don't have a veshet there, you don't have that support. So that's very gishmak. It's just basar over there, and the veshet is what's holding up the work. What's holding the giving it its life is the fact that it has a veshet lined up next to the kana. So just wanted to shtel to that thing that we said then. So tomorrow weiter. V'amar Rabbi Shila Amar Rav Masna Amar Shmuel nekra tzela meikra treifa. Another one is if one of the tzellas was pulling out, that's a problem. If one of the vertebrae, one of the ribs was uprooted from its place, so then it's treifa, yeah. So we showed them on the picture. I'm sorry.
Uprooted, the same thing is separated, like he has a broken rib.
No, not broken. This is uprooted. This is taken out of. One second. Let me show you a picture. Here's the nekra hatzela mimkaima meikra, meaning that the rib is normally attached to the spinal cord, right? And over here, it got detached meikra, right? It didn't just break. You didn't break a rib. The rib got detached from the spine.
How would that happen?
How did all these things happen? I don't know. These are all accidents. I don't know. Things happen. Yeah? Okay, we'll see. Yeah? Love again. Zok more weiter. Okay. Nekra tzela meikra treifa. Ugugoyles shenech besa beruba. Yeah, this is Rabbi Bashmuel bar Rav Masna Amar Shmuel told us a few halachas here. Nekra tzela meikra is a treifa. Ugugoyles shenech besa beruba, meaning that the skull was hit many times, and roiv of its area. Ubasar hachoifas roiv hakeres beruba. Treifa. Now this is going to be totally, it's very, very complicated. Rashi actually is Meirich over here to tell us what this is. I'm going to have to come back to this Rashi to know what this is. But it's Negea Gemara later on, that there's a Basa Choifa Reiva Keres. At least at this point, what we're talking about is, we're talking about the stomach, that the part of the stomach that covers over roiv of the keres. Which part of the keres? Rashi's very, very specific. Yeah, that's going to be a treifa. That's this thing. Okay, yeah. So bottom line is, those were 7 problems. So we had a problem. We made room for 2. And we disqualified 2 of the Baseger. But we have the Shev Shmaitza. What are we going to do with the Shev Shmaitza? That's our Kasha. Everything Gemara. Very apashta Eitzah. Nekuvi tam nahavi. Chashvenu bechad apik shev v'ayil shev. Of the 18 in our Mishnah, 8 of them are called Nekuvim. Are called Nikva, right? Nikva Dakim, Nikva Amora, right? A whole bunch of them are Nikva. We're gonna consolidate them down to 1. We're only counting them as 1. Now, it really in our Mishnah is 10, but 2 of them we already took out. We took out Nikva Amora because we said we don't hold like Rabbi Yehuda, and we took out Nikvu the Hemsis of Beis HaKosis. We turned them into 1 already. So we already pared down 2. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take all the rest of 8. And we're going to turn it down to. We're going to turn it into only 1. So now we have room for 7. Yeah, very gishmak. Nikuvi tam nihavi chashvenu bechad apik shev v'ayil shev. So we took out 7. We made room for these 7. Frakti Gemara Kasha. 1 second. And by the way, Stamazay Agavorcha, from the fact that we're turning everything into Nekev, is a gvaldiga raya to this lumdis that we were saying, that it's all about the treif, it's all about the incident, it's not about what happened, not about what it does to the organ. Okay, weiter. So the Gemara, Yachi psukinami trei havu. So then, if you could group together all the holes, all the nikvus, so now we have to group together all the cuts. So there's also sai psukas agageres and the psukas the shedra. They're both cutting. So we have to, those two of them we have to also consolidate and turn them into one. So now we're missing now. So right. So first of all, so now we're down to 17. Yachi psukinami trei havu, right? Trei havu chashvinu b'chad batzulu chada, so we're missing one, so we're down to 17. The oid the rabavira mishmei the rava nami nekuvahi. One of the 7. What did we do? We took out. We made 8 into one. And then we took all the 7 of the Shev Shmaitz and we stuck it in. What do you mean? But one of the Shev Shmaitz is also a hole. The hole by the Tchol is also a hole. And so what's it going to help? So, and holes are all one. So how can you make it? How could it take place? How could it take its spot? Take its own spot. It's all part of Nekev. So to Gemara. Ella, moving to today's block, Mem Gimel Amud Alf. Ella Hanach Tati. The Afka is like Tapik. If you remember in the beginning of the Amud, what happened? With Baseger, what we did was we disqualified 2, and the other 2 we made place for. Right? Now we're going to say we're not going to disqualify anything. We're including those 2 as well. What? We're bringing back Behema, Shenechtechu Raglau, Menakuva Lamaila, and we're bringing back also, what? Gluda, which we said, right? Savala Krab Meya, and now the pshat is so now we have so once we bring back those 2, and we took out we took out all the nikvus, made them into one, and we took out the 2 psukas we turned into one. So now we have Taka 18 like the ton of the Ray of Shmuel. Okay, good. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly more right. Yeah, let's go. So to more right. Yeah, Gishmak? Good. So let's go right. Let's look to more right. There's 8 flavors of treifas, then with Moshe Sinai. 8 different flavors. Again, this is another raya to this thing that a treifa has something to do with the treifa, the incident. Why? What is this? Nekuvo psuka, a hole or a cut that we had all over. Netula, if something is taken. Chasura, if something is missing. Krua, if something's ripped. Drusa is if it gets, if an animal, if an animal attacks it. And the fula if it falls. Shavura if it breaks. Now, Rashi goes through the cheshbonis, why exactly different things are considered, which category they go into. We don't have time to be married, it's a mishun deglate. So we're gonna have to come back to those Rashis. Lafuke. So what's this halacha that what's Ula coming to teach us? Lafuke lukusa the Rachish by Papa. That Rachish told us this one case of laksa bekolya that it's also a treifa, and lemaisa lukusa is not one of the list of it's not one of these 8 options that Ula told us. So Mamela, Ula is coming to teach us not the halacha is not like Rachish. That is how Rashi learns. However, the big problem is that the Rambam paskins all 8. He says that there's 8 minei treifas nem l'Moshe Sinai, but Mashenkin, and he also paskins like Rachish. So that's the big problem. That's where the big box is. There's a lot of terutzim in the Achronim. However, the Beis Yosef and the Ramah, they say kind of the chukim that the pshat is that a matcha that somehow the Rambam had his own cheshbon of the numbers, and it's a big doichik, right? The Achronim want to learn a very, very big chiddush, and that comes out, it's negea more of a fundamental lumdus in the sugya, that they say that not like Rashi. Rashi says lafuki lukusa the Rachish bar Papa, that we don't paskin like the lukusa of Rachish bar Papa, right? That one of the Ula was saying not to paskin like it. No, Rashi's learning like this. They want to say in the Rambam that the Rambam is saying like this: Ches minei treifas nemu l'Moshe Sinai, lafuki l'kusa, the Rachish bar Papa. that there are different categories of treifas, and that there are treifas that were not never the Moshe Sinai, but they were there, and it was Rachish was machadish, and that goes into a gavaldiga whole other lumdis to know, is there such a thing as a treifas? It goes into a shtickle the shmuz that we discussed yesterday. The are treifas nischadish? Do we go basar today's thing? Is there anything? Was it all sealed by halacha Moshe Sinai, or is there an opportunity for Lachish to come and introduce another treifa? But we're not going to go weiter. There's a lot of lumdis about that as well. Okay, so to more weiter. Amruchia bar Rava is ches treifas yesh benekuva im taima. There's 8 treifas yesh benekuva. There's 8 treifas. There's 8 treifas that are possibilities by punctures. If you'll tell me that there's really 9 now. Mishnah, Mara Rabbi Yeshua Yehuda Ketani law. That's the Das Yachid of Rabbi Yeshua Yehuda. The Tanya Nikva Keva Nikva Dakvim Treifa Rabbi Yeshua Yehuda Ima Af Nikva Mara. So that's my choice. That's Rabbi Yeshua Yehuda. Rabbi Yisrael by Yeshua Rabbi Yechon. Now we're going to go through a whole bunch of members for Rabbi Yisrael by Yeshua Rabbi Yechon. We're going to try to rush because we must see Rashi even if we don't see the Chazakas. We must see Rashi on the bottom of Amud Aleph. Rabbi Yisrael by Yeshua Rabbi Yechon. Halacha Rabbi Yeshua Rabbi Yehuda. Halacha is like Rabbi Yeshua Yehuda. What Nikva Mara is a problem. Rabbi Yisrael by Yeshua Rabbi Yechon. And my ahadule chavre Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda. The Chachamim that argue Rabbi Yeshua Yehuda and they hold Nikvu Amorim, Nikvu Amora. What's the mora? Is the gallbladder. That's something that's it's a small pocket of some kind of a juices that come from the liver, and so my hadul echavre Rabbi Yeshua Yehuda that they held that nikva amora is not a problem because they had a pasuk in Eiv. It says yishpeich la'aretz meira rasi. Eiv said that my mora was spilled to the ground. Some first pasuk that you can live even after the spilling of the gallbladder, right? We don't bring a raya from Ma'aser Nisim. Yeah. So from these 2 lines of Gemara, the Welt brings two. There's two massive question that we have to address. One of them is that the Gemara seems to be stelling to a human, how a human survives to an animal, right? Because the Gemara is talking about our sugya legabi mara nikva amara from Eiv. What do you bring a raya from Eiv? Adayin Eiv kayim. Who cares? Adam Isloim Mazla. That's the kasha. So right, Tosfos asked the kasha. There are those that want to bring a fan for a Tam that's true. Adam Isloim Mazla, but Eiv didn't have Mazla. Yeah. Anyway, but that's the sugya. That's one shmuz that we have to learn from this Gemara. The other shmuz that we have to learn from this Gemara is the conversation that we had yesterday. If you hold that treifa and a chaya, what happens if you see something that's chaya, right? So our Gemara seems to say that what? No, Ma'aser Nisim. But besides Ma'aser Nisim, there are no other option. What do you mean? What happened to our Meiri? Meiri said that it's only a roiv. What happened to the Rambam? What happened to these eitzes? That the problem is that what? That argued that it is possible Metzias for somebody to survive even if a person is a treifa. Okay, yeah, that's Gemara. So tomorrow, right? Those are the shmuzin. We don't have time to be marach. Amalei ein maskim Ma'aser Nisim. Di lo temachi yiflach kil yoisai v'lo yachmol. Where he said a different pasuk. He didn't discuss about he discussed about his kidneys, and he said his kidneys will get sick. Yiflach kil yosef v'yachmal, and right, and nothing's going to happen, right? How could you live? We know that laksa b'kolya is a treifa. Ella nisa shani. D'chsiv rak es nafshi shemar. The Eibishter told the Malach HaMavos that I want you to hit him and hit him hard, but make sure he doesn't die. Hachanamim nisa shani. Yeah, that's like Gemara. So Gemara right there was like this is very interesting. We're going to have later on. Our Mishnah, there are 2 stam Mishnah legabe the kaved, legabe the liver. One Mishnah says that it's a problem only if it's completely nitla kavla nishtayim and klum. and nothing was left over. But if even a masha was left over, it could regenerate itself. Later on in the Mishnah, it's going to say a stam Mishnah. It's going to say that when is it not a treifa? If even though it was taken, there was a kazayis remained. So the question is, do you need a kazayis, or is it or even a mashu enough? That's going to be a problem. And it's two stam mishnayis. So here we had a man from Yisrael that you need a kazayis. That if you don't have a kazayis, it's not left over. It's not good. Another man from Mishnah. So if Rabbi Yechon holds halacha stam mishnah, so what do you mean? So what? And they're both stam mishnah. Utna nit like havelin shtayim menaklum el mishnah nishtay kushera afagav lehavik kazayis. Everything where I'm writing in Rabbi Yechon. Rabbi Yisrael by Yosef. Oh, yeah, without the Amroi, he nenu v'aliv Rabbi Yechon. So Rashi is married to explain like this, that there's two stam mishnayos, and avad if there's two stam mishnayos, so which one should you? Well, how do you paskin? So if you hold like Rabbi Yechon that says halach stam mishnah, it depends. If we have a reason to be noted to one, so we'll paskin like one. But if we have no reason to be noted to one, we have to leave it as a suffix. You can't paskin. And over here, the Gemara knew that Rabbi Yechon has no reason to say one way over the other. So it must be he argues with the rule of halakha stam mishnah. Let's move on because we must get to the Rashi. Let's say the Mara got a hole. The kaved, so it's attached to the liver, and the kaved keeps it stuffed up because they're always attached. We'll see. What's the korkavan? Is the heliga korkavan? That's the stomach of a bird. It has an inner very thick skin that holds, and the outer and outside it has like what has the pupicle, which is the flesh that we eat. Even if there's a hole in the outer of flesh, but as long as the kishala is kayam, it's kosher. What's in the reverse? What happens if the kiss gets a hole and the korkavan is still without, not punctured? Doesn't matter as long as there's no hole through and through. There's two skins to the veshet. The veshet is the esophagus. That's where the food goes down. It has two skins. We had this when we had a veshet. Chitzayin edaim. The outer one is red, and the inner one is upnimi love, and the inner one is white. Nikev zeh b'lo zeh kosher. If one gets a hole without the other one, it's kosher. Yeah. So the fact more lamli the main mechitza and edom pnimi love. Why do you have to say which one's red and which one's red and which one's white? You'll see whichever one's red, whichever one's white. What's the problem? Why do you have to tell us that? So you should just know if you had a bird that comes in and has it inside out, it's a treifa. What happens if they both have a hole? We had halach if one had halach, the other one didn't have a hole. Fine. What happens if they both had a hole, but they weren't exactly opposite? By the veshet, it's okay. It's fine. But korkavan pasul. When it comes to the korkavan, it's going to be pasul if it has holes. If they both have holes, even if it's not opposite each other. Maskana Rashi adraba veshet ochlo bei upaya bei revach gamdole upashtole. Zimnin demandazim bahadi adodi korkavan the menech neich kidekoi koi. So what the way Rashi explains the kasha is like this: that in the Havamina we thought that the problem of shloi keneged zeh is that what happens? It's gonna the food is gonna get through one hole, then it's gonna go between the skins, and then it's gonna end up going out the other hole. So that's a problem. And that's a problem by the korkavan, and it's not a problem by the veshet, because nothing's going to come through the first one and go through the second one. However, frekta akasha, no, but we have a different problem by the veshet, since it's going up and down. Why is it going up and down? Because it calls. I don't call through the veshet. You call through the windpipe, but they're attached to each other. And so since it's going up and down, we're afraid that the two skins are going to line up. And maybe if they line up, that alone will make it possible. So Mela, if you have Zesh like it's going to be a problem. Okay, here comes the big sugya. Let's just get to this Gemara with this Rashi, and with that we're going to end. Ve'amar Rabba krum she'ala machmas maka beveshet einoi krum. Which means that if let's say you have a scab, a krum is a scab which turns into a full what's called it, a full so what happens? Krum shala machmas baka beveshet einoi krum. So what's this halacha? So there is a das yachid, which we'll see, maybe we'll have to bring in, which says that this halacha is only very, very, very small halacha. It's a localized halacha legabe neveshet, and has nothing to do with the rest of the animal. However, Rashi clearly doesn't learn like that, and Rashi learns that that the halacha is about all parts of the animal. If it gets a hole, and then afterwards, after the makkah got stuffed up, the animal got healthy afterwards. It grew a new cover over it. It's still a treifa. Now the question is, why is it a treifa? There seems to be a stira. This is the Achrayim we're busy with. Mamish a stira in the lashon of this Rashi, of our Rashi, and this is where the sugya starts. That's the question. Let's read this Rashi inside, and it's mamish negeh every single day. The shmuz. Zok Rashi, krum sha'olam machmas maka einoi krum. It's a Rashi, the fourth to bottom line. Einoi krum. Zok Rashi, v'im nikev v'nistam. If it got a hole v'nistam and it got stuffed up, I feel also by stima over. Even if it grew a very thick stuffing, eina miskayemes. Eina miskayemes. It sounds like Rashi's saying a basis. Right? Not a lumdis. Rashi's just saying that the fact of the matter is it's not going to stay. Yeah? Zok Rashi, v'zeu psul shechayz l'achsher. Okay, the Gemara says, Zok Rashi, D'chol nekuvei de treifos, loy mahanya lehu stima desalka behu lachazman. Now all of a sudden Rashi seems to be saying, I love this. That treifa ain't a chayz like shera. That once something is a treifa, so then it's impossible for it to lose the status of a treifa. That nekuvi the treifa is like mahanya luhu stima desalka lu lachazman. And Rashi even asks the kasha, what happens to the reya, meaning the lung that got a hole, and it has a corresponding lobe that keeps it closed over. Right? And steam is covered with Gemara that we just had in the Gemara. That Rashi says that what? Why? That he's steam meikari. What does that mean? So Rashi seems to be saying, the simple reading of Rashi is that the pshat is it never got the shame of a treifa. Mashe'en kain by krum sha'ala machmas maka. Since at one point it became a treifa, it's impossible. You have nothing to. There's no eitzah. Krum sha'ala machmas maka because treifa ain't a chayzel l'kashrusa. That seems to be the end of Rashi. But the problem is, what's the ratio of Rashi? In the beginning of Rashi says the emlike v'nistam afilu also by stima ova eina miskayemes, meaning it's not going to last. Now the question is, what happens if I have something that will clearly last? And that's the question. The most important what's negeya is the gabe blot. The problem is by the cows. The cows, they have this issue that sometimes that first big area, that there's nothing, that place is just a staging area. It just sits there, and the food starts to decay, and it gets very gassy. It gets full of, I think, methane or something, whatever it is. And the cow is supposed to burp it up. Sometimes something goes wrong, maybe some foam or something, and the cow starts getting very, very, very bloated. It gets so bloated, and it starts pushing away the lungs, and the cows could die in mamish seconds. So what they do is they puncture the cowhands, the cowboys. They have a tool with them. It's just special. They give a puncture into the place on the side of the thing. It makes a hole there and it lets out the air and it saves the life. And this happens all the time. So now the question is, what do we do? L'chura, this is a hole in the keres, a nikva keres. This is mamash. This is a regular treifa. We see it's going to live forever. We know the teretz is it gets sewn up, but it gets sewn up, and it gets sewn up professionally. But the problem is, so maybe you would say so it's totally in the shaila. Do you say it's again mamish both shailas? First of all, we started off with the shaila rishonim. If the shaila of grum shaila machmas maka is only totally in the veshet, or it's even totally in the keres itself. That's question number one. And then we have another question. Even if you'll say, like most Rishonim, that it's negea all over the body, now the shaila is there a problem, something that clearly gets fixed up with stitching or whatever it is, even if I don't know if they always stitch it, but even if it is stitched up, right, and it clearly lives forever, it's not it works out perfectly. Is it a problem of is the word that the problem of klum sha'ala machmas makas a word is it's eina miskayemis, but if I'll give you something that's miskayim, it's fine, or no, the word is that what leimahanya luhu stima desalka b'lachasman, and this is clearly something a stima desalka b'lachasman, and since it's a salka b'lachasman, there won't be a heter. So this is negea for two places. It's negea by the milk. That's negea, and it seems like what the animals eat for milk-giving cows, that's for sure ferments and whatever they give them nowadays for them to that somehow could get them to for the milk the milk cows. They have this issue with, and they taka so again, so that we know, and there's a whole issue. This milk, this company, that milk, this company, that company, and we could deal with it. Fine, we have to make sure that those cows are not treifa, because they're treifa, kol yatzim not treifa, and all the milk is also treifa. But there's another issue. There's an issue with the cows in Uruguay or Paraguay, I'm not sure, one of them, that over there they realize they have they have this problem by their meat cows. And what's going to be with flesh from there? So at the beginning, people didn't want to take any meat from either Uruguay or Paraguay, and now it became the derech that a lot of the sheikhtim, a lot of the boitkim, instead of only being boidik the reya kederech klal Yisrael for all the deiros that you had to have, that glat meant checking just the reya. Now they've developed a way to check the keres, and they check through the keres mamish carefully every single keres to make sure that it wasn't punctured, to know that it wasn't a treifa.